pit bull attacked her terrier.
Miss Davis, it is your claim that a dog belonging to the defendant attacked your dog. You want her to be responsible for the vet bills.
Yes.
Ms. Keys' defense is that it's not her dog. And Ms. Keys was not present, so she can't testify with regard to the event. Is that correct?
Correct.
So first tell me about the event. When and where did it happen?
It happened at the morning of August 27th. I was walking my rat terrier. We would go for an hour walk every morning. And when I got towards the end of our walk, we had about a block to go. We were in front of the elementary school, and a pit bull just came out from nowhere from behind us. I don't know where it did. My dog was screaming. I was trying to get the dog off, the other dog off.
Just a second.
And got it on me. And my dog, she got out of her harness, which is really pretty tight on her usually, got out of it and ran home. At that point in time, I went to get up. I have an insulin pump, so it was on the ground. I had to pick it back up, put it up, and I turned around and saw a young man standing by the cars and had the dog by the collar. I said, "Is that your dog?" No, it's not my dog. He's like, "Whose dog is it?" "I don't know. We'll take it." I went in, got my husband up, and said, "We got to go to the vet. Get up now." And so we started on our merry way to we had to go to the vet, and she ended up having to have surgery.
Okay. And that's the bill that you want paid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't believe you.
Says her terrier was attacked by Laurel Keys' pit bull. Laurel claims she is not the owner of the pit bull in question.
Now, did you ever see the dog again with the pink collar?
The dog was held, and we had to go back and get the harness and the leash that was in the street, and there was two women holding this pit bull.
You weren't there, so it's clear that if your dog had injuries and vet expenses, the owner of the dog would be responsible for those.
Right.
The dog was off leash. Now, Ms. Keys, you have no issue with the fact that you at one time were the owner of this dog.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the dog was chipped in your name.
Correct.
That's how they contacted you, correct?
Correct.
On what date did they contact you?
They contacted the officer. I believe his name was John that I spoke to.
Do you have any reports from August 27th?
I did.
Or 28th? I'd like to take a look at the reports that you have from around that date. Now, this is your story, Ms. Keys, that I read in your answer. So I want to make sure that I succinctly state them. And if I've made a mistake, you let me know. According to you, your mother rescued this dog, and then for some reason, she couldn't take care of it. You took the dog. You and your fiancé
Correct.
took the dog in, and you had the dog chipped in your name.
Correct.
And vaccinated.
Correct.
Receipts?
No, ma'am, I do not.
What was the name of the vet where you took the dog?
Seagullville Animal Shelter.
Is that where your mother had gotten the dog from?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's where you had the dog chipped in your name and shots?
Correct.
Then, according to you, you were notified by your landlord that your landlord does not permit pit bulls on premises.
Correct.
On what date did you get that notice?
I got it 2 days prior to...
Shh. Shh. No, that's not possible. Why would you have posted a notice on Craigslist or anywhere else for a new owner for the dog when you had not received any notification that you couldn't have the dog?
By that time, I already talked to the apartments, and they said that they did have a weight restriction, but I did have to wait to get her fully vetted and everything, of course, to be able to bring her onto the property.
What you're telling me is you got the dog from your mother on August 4th, and on August 7th, you say you posted an ad on Craigslist.
Yes, ma'am.
But after that, you had the dog chipped and vaccinated.
I had her chipped and everything previous before I brought her home.
On what date?
I do not know the date. I know the day that we received her and everything was the same day.
IRA.
Mrs. Wallace, this is your former husband. You were married for how long and divorced when?
We were married for 21 years and we were divorced in March of 2013.
And when you were divorcing, were you represented by counsel?
Yes.
And were you represented by counsel?
I was.
And I gather that you went to mediation.
We did.
And as part of the mediation in Idaho, while both were represented by attorneys, you reached a financial settlement and everything including property, house, cars, interest in each other's eyes. You claim that you got a letter from the IRS indicating that there were taxes owed on an IRA that had been taken out early. And that money that was owed because during 3 separate occasions, you want that money back.
Correct.
Now, that's not happening. Go sue your lawyer for malpractice if you think that you were misrepresented. But once a divorce is finalized, we do not allow you to come back and say in another court, sorry, I want a do-over. You had the ability, you were represented by counsel, you are a bright woman, you're employed, you know about an IRA and a Roth IRA and a 401k, you had an attorney that you hired and that you paid for, you had full financial disclosure. You don't get a second bite of the apple.
But
I don't know how much simpler I can make it for you.
But I was unaware during the mediation process that he had made withdrawals.
That is your problem. You had all the documents. You had your financial information. You have all of his financial information. Your taxes.
Taxes really aren't due because this was a Roth IRA withdrawal, and you can withdraw contributions tax-free. So when I did file our joint taxes, I should have filed a 1099-R, but I didn't receive one from the investment company, and I had forgotten about it at the time. So I think all we have to do to rectify that is to get that tax form and send it to the IRS.
Well, I suggest you do that.
I can't do it because it's her account.
Well, maybe who is the IRS coming after?
Well, we filed jointly that year.
So they'll eventually come after both of you, unless you fill out the form.
And I did fill out the form, but that say post-IRA, post-tax, I am supposed to get this amount. And so in mediation...
Very carefully, again, you're represented by counsel. Everybody signed all of the documents that they were fully familiar with everything in
transactions because I never made it.
I can't help you. It's over. It's finished. He says he used the money for things during the course of the marriage. I don't know that, and I'm certainly not going to look into it now because that's what a divorce court does. Not small claims court, not civil court.
And that's why I brought it to small claims court, is because I believe that it's a civil matter. I believe it's fraud. I believe he stole from me.
So listen to me. Move to open up the divorce. Call your attorney.
When I went to the attorney,
call your attorney and say he committed fraud, and I'm moving to open up the divorce. I'm contesting the divorce. He committed a fraud, and if you want to go into that, litigate that all over again, then do it. You don't get two bites of the apple.
I don't want two bites of the apple. I just want what he took from me.
But during the course of your marriage to see where these joint marital assets, because your 401k and his 401k are joint marital assets. They don't become individual until after your divorce. You want me now, after your divorce, to look into where that money went, what it was spent on, whether any of it was spent on children, you, bills, whatever. We don't do that. The divorce finalizes your status and everything that has to do with finances up until the date perpetrated fraud. You're not going to do that. Anyway, I can't help you. Thank you. That's all.
He logged in with my information, took money out of my account.
It's just ridiculous. It is insulting, and
I found out after the divorce, and
I have plenty of statements.
Wilkie versus Parton. Step forward.
Joseph Wilkie is suing his former employer, Alana Parton, for unpaid wages, the value of tools he was forced to buy, and damages to his car.
I'm telling you, Mr. Wilkie, thank you, Bert. I'm telling you, Mr. Wilkie, my eyes rolled back in my head when I read your complaint. It was so confusing. Yours, too. So let's...
$144.43.
Now, Mr. that she paid off a tool bill with one of her suppliers for your tools. That's what she says, instead of giving you the money. Is that right?
Yes.
You can't do that. So you owe him $244. Now, the next part of your lawsuit is that she used a cattle prod?
No, ma'am.
She told you that if you wanted the job, according to what you said, you had to buy these tools, all of the other documents that create the wonderful country that we live in, that gives you freedom of choice. You can say to her, adios, sayonara. I don't want to work for you. I'm not buying tools. You bought the tools? Your problem. So far, she owes you $244. Now, the third and final part of this lawsuit that I have now taken apart. Now, tell me about that.
We were going
When did it happen?
It happened on August. Told me that she did not have the money at the time and that I would have to come back later. And at that point, her dog came and jumped on the driver's side of the car and scratched it up. And we told her
Jumped on the driver's side? You mean on the side panel?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see a picture of that.
No.
That's your
the
problem.
fact that he returned the tools that he's claiming I owe him for?
Just a sec. I'm not dealing with the tools. You paid for the tools, that's your problem. You wanted to keep your credit clean with this guy, and he said, you know, one of your employees didn't finish paying me, you decided to pay him? That's gratuitous. You had no contract with him. What's next?
The fact that they threatened to call the county DEQ for his paycheck.
I never refused any checks.
$244. Judgment for the plaintiff. Counterclaims dismissed.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good. Who are you?
I'm her daughter, Elizabeth.
Now, you had some damage to your store as a result of what, a flood?
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer in court.
I'm sorry.
And at the time that your store was flooded, were the plaintiffs working for you?
She wasn't working for us when...
Who's she?
Ivy Fawcett was not working for us when we first had the flood.
Which one is Ivy Fawcett?
I am Ivy Fawcett.
Stop looking at your phone or whatever you're looking at. Look here. When did you commence working for them?
March 30 of 2014.
A week after the flood.
A week after the flood?
Correct.
Okay, let me explain to you something. It's a very confusing case, so I'm going to tell you what I'm considering. I'm considering who actually purchased the substitute equipment that was at the shop.
Well, Your Honor, we have the receipts with
I don't care if you have the receipts. That's not why we're here. If it was as easy as receipts, we wouldn't be here. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, Miss Fawcett says that their team, I don't know how you're involved. Were you working there as well?
Off and on, Your Honor.
Absolutely not.
Just a second. I want you to... Don't speak. All I want to know is which one of you alleges that they paid for this substitute equipment?
Your Honor, I did.
And you're Miss Berkeley?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So insurance. And she said at some point this whole business relationship, this employment relationship blew up. She was prevented from taking her property.
Yes, ma'am.
And she wasn't paid for the equipment. Now, what?
I just wanted to add in that not only the equipment, but I wasn't paid for the hours that I worked.
Listen,
it's incorrect.
Listen to me.
She
I'm
paid
not
for
going
everything.
over hours that you worked. Do you understand? I'm interested in equipment. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's what I'm dealing with. So first, Miss Berkeley, you are going to explain to me and show me proof when you purchased the equipment and how much you paid for the equipment.
Yes, ma'am. What I have is a total of $989.73.
How do you know them, by the way?
I know them through Ivy. Ivy was first employed with them in March. That lasted a month, 6 weeks. I'm not quite sure. She left.
Listen, if you say it again, I'm just going to throw you out, finish the case with her, not consider your counterclaim, kiss you goodbye.
Equipment was damaged and inoperable. I went online to different...
No. Why did you go online? Now, if you...
Because there was no equipment to be used in order to make lenses for eyewear.
Well, who did you have a discussion with who owned the shop? Which one of the defendants?
I talked with Elizabeth. I spoke with Ivy, who was initially
I don't care.
working there.
Ivy.
Okay.
Ivy
Yes,
has
ma'am.
no authority to tell you anything.
Yes, ma'am.
To say, could you buy equipment? There's no equipment there. Ivy has no authority to do that.
Understand.
Did you speak to either of the defendants?
I spoke with Elizabeth.
Who's Elizabeth? Spoke with Elizabeth. Do you recall the nature of the conversation that you had with her? Why were you going to purchase the equipment?
Because I had the funds and she didn't.
Now, had you ever known Elizabeth prior to Miss Fawcett going to work for them in March?
No, ma'am. I had never been in the store or anything.
What brought you to the store?
I was asked to come in to assist because...
Skills.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
You want out too?
No, ma'am.
I'd be more than happy to put you out.
No, I don't want to.
Go ahead.
Because of my background.
What's your background?
My background is personnel, 20 years military service. I also have a business management degree from Jacksonville University.
Okay. Now, tell me about the conversation that you had with a
laboratory in order to cut the lenses for the eyewear. The equipment that was needed, we went through that.
Who did you go through it with?
I talked to Elizabeth about this. What was needed.
Okay, go ahead.
So I started to purchase this equipment.
Just a minute. Who asked you to?
No one asked me to, Your Honor.
Well, that's the issue. You started to purchase the equipment then on your own.
Yes, ma'am.
And?
To set up the lab in order for us to function.
In order for the whole
laboratory
operation to function.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not quite understanding what your role is in this whole thing.
My role, as far as help assisting...
Who brought you in?
Ivy did.
Okay.
With Elizabeth's permission.
Well, just a minute. Ivy brought you in when?
I was there a few days in March, and I know I worked 2.5 days, I think, in July.
Doing what?
Your Honor, I was trying to set up the register. I was trying to get things going in the laboratory in order to function.
Okay. So you started to purchase equipment.
Yes, ma'am.
And you put that on your credit cards?
Yes, ma'am.
And where would
you use my address?
Now, Miss Fawcett, The missing link here is a conversation with either Elizabeth or her mother with regard to this equipment. You want to tell me when that conversation took place and what that conversation was?
Yes. The understanding with the equipment.
I don't want to hear the word understanding. I want to hear the word conversation. I had a conversation with.
The conversation on June 25th. I had a meeting with Elizabeth and Mary. At that meeting, we decided they wanted me to set up the lab. They wanted me to bring in the equipment to make it a functional optical place because it was not functional. It had nothing to qualify as an optical
We've been in
shop.
business 17 years and we're not functional.
Your counterclaim's dismissed. How's that? Your counterclaim's dismissed. Now it's going to get worse for you. It's going to get worse.
And I'm only...
Stop.
I'm sorry.
It's going to get worse. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I don't play games. I can't hold you in contempt. That's the way I do it. That's my reality. You just had my reality. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Now, let's proceed with the claim.
Again, the equipment came about because of this meeting. And I am going to set up the lab.
I'd like to see. What do you have? You have it on in a contract in a
Yeah, in our conversation, it was...
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Your Honor, when can I chime in and
when
say
I ask
something?
you a question. That's when.
Okay, here's where first you need to know. Her question is in yellow here. She asked me specifically, what is it you want to do at the store? I asked, do you want me to set up the lab?
Okay, so you have a meeting, and I see that that's well documented with Elizabeth about setting up a lab that would do finishing lenses. Is there anything else here that I'm supposed to look at with regard to you buying the equipment?
I can't say it is, no, because the goal was, I couldn't wait on Elizabeth to tell me to go buy equipment. I have 29 years of optical experience.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
So the answer is no. Told you, buy the equipment and we will reimburse you. That requires a yes or a no.
No, ma'am.
No. Good. Okay. But you told her to go ahead, because she had the money, to go ahead and buy the equipment. What?
We had the money. That's what I want to bring in. It's not Kim just paid.
Oh, I thought
Ivy's
she
on
just
that.
paid.
No, Ivy's on that loan too. We got a basic setup loan for optical.
How much did you? Don't tell me what she knew. Just answer my question. I want to see how much money the two of you spent on optical equipment that ended up in the defendant's store.
It is here on the spreadsheet with receipts, ma'am, as well as pictures.
I want to see your receipts. So I see a used lens meter.
Lensometer, ma'am.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, madam. This receipt, listen to me. The receipt that you gave me says one used lens meter.
Okay, that's confirmed.
That was $400. This is $119.17. This is an optical eyeglass grind lenser and a buffing something for $70.
Yes,
ma'am.
And I tried to retrieve it.
Just a second. Don't speak. Now, what do you do for a living? Not this.
I'm retired military, ma'am.
You're retired.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have no current career.
No, ma'am.
And what about you, Miss Fawcett?
Well, I am a retired disabled veteran.
Fine. So you don't have, I mean, neither one of you has an optical shop.
No, ma'am.
Is what I'm getting at.
I also have...
I don't want you to answer anything. I said neither one of you has an optical shop.
No, but I have experience.
That's not what I'm asking you.
Okay, no, we don't.
Why don't you just let me do my thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And Kim Berkeley claim Ivy's former employers, Elizabeth Harvey and Mary Woodruff, owe for lost wages and the cost of lab equipment. The defendants are countersuing for missing equipment and an assault.
You got where I'm going?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, I have this list of merchandise that they purchased. Their money.
It's not.
Don't speak. I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to your mother. Do you understand what I just said?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
That merchandise is in your, or was in your store.
Yes.
Right. Now, you want to show me that you paid for it?
These are her.
No, don't give me a whole bunch of papers.
Just 3.
No, no.
I want you to show me that you paid for it. That's what it is. Great.
Oh my God. This is going to be...
This you can take back. This means nothing.
Well, that came from her, refunded.
This means nothing. This is Horizon Service. What is that?
That's for the edger. That's the equipment.
No, these are two different things.
Exactly. I've never heard of the equipment you're talking about. That's not what was in our store.
Oh, you're so full of baloney.
I am not full of baloney, Your Honor.
Oh, yes you are.
No, I'm not.
Oh, yes you are.
The Horizon.
And then this is separate equipment. That's not the main equipment.
Listen to me carefully.
I'm listening.
I'm just talking about these bills for optical equipment that total $9.89.
That's not correct. And it's not correct about the insurance either. Our insurance claim was coming through that she helped file. There was money that was due by the property management on his insurance that has never been accounted for. I was going to go get the equipment, and she said that she was purchasing it, that she had already got a loan, she was purchasing it, and that she was going to put it back there because we weren't sure if we were going to pay her hourly or if she was going to be subleasing the lab.
Where is the equipment?
She has the
Just
equipment.
a second. Where is the equipment that she purchased?
She has the edger.
She has it.
Right. The edger.
No, there's a lot of equipment.
Well, no, I have the other equipment is at the store because she would never meet with us to explain to us where the
now,
missing...
just a minute. Now I'm getting a different story.
We're not sure who she purchased it with because our money is... There's missing insurance money.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $989. As I indicated, your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all. She left the property in a disastrous state. You want to be compensated to the tune of $5,000. Ms. Turner says that there was nothing wrong with the property. She wants her security deposit back, her $750. And in addition, she wants compensation because she said that through your work in a credit union, you accessed her private bank account, and thereby you invaded her privacy. Access her bank account, then you did invade her privacy. That's what the case is about.
Yes.
Now, you have a copy of the lease?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to take a look at it. Okay, so let's start with the problem, which I believe is the nexus of the problem that exists with the damaged property. Your lease does not permit you to have dogs, and the plaintiff alleges that you had dogs on your property. How many dogs, listen to my question very carefully, how many dogs during the lease period did you have on your property?
I had 3.
What kind of dogs?
One was a pit bull, one was a mutt, and the other one was a stray. And it was a mutt also.
Did you have all 3 of them on the premises?
The dogs. So I don't understand why there was an issue. I have paperwork showing that she did.
I'd like to see that. Which dog was that?
That was the 2-inch mutt. At the bottom on there, it says that she took a $100 deposit.
Just a second. That was for one dog?
Mm-hmm. And she knew about the other one.
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay.
Because you can't tell me what she knows.
Okay.
Oh, this is when she told you to get out?
Yes.
Oh, well, what she says is here is that at the time you signed the lease, you had a verbal understanding that the tenant could keep their 2-pound handheld miniature dog that would not damage any woodwork. And you told her that you were, quote, she says, horrified of big dogs. Within 2 weeks,
that was
animal control was called. Tenants had tethered a pet bulldog with bad mange up in the backyard. Mm-hmm. Landlord was informed 3 times by Miss Turner that the dog would be removed by her son.
Mm-hmm.
To resolve, landlord agreed to take $100 non-refundable deposit to take the dog. Isn't that what you told her?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. You have a copy of the police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
And I also have a copy stating there were 9 dogs from the animal control.
I'd like to see that, too. You have a copy of the walkthrough that was done on July 10th?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Can I see that? Because I didn't.
Absolutely. Let me read the police report. Would you show this to Miss Turner, please? On June 15th, prior to your moving out, police responded to your residence. You said to the police officer that her son, Tyrico was the owner of the dogs. I advised Ms. Turner that she is also responsible for the dogs, and she stated she understood. I asked Ms. Turner if she would allow me to see the dogs, and she said that that would be fine. Ms. Turner stated that the brown brindle and white male pit bull mix was named Nico, a blue brindle and white female pit bull named China, and a black female pit bull named Shadow, which was under the shed with her 3-week-old puppies.
No, ma'am.
Ms. Turner attempted to bring Shadow out but could not get the dog county tags for all 3. I verified that China was current on rabies vaccination with Riley Animal Hospital, so that I have a total of now 9 dogs on the property. Let's count how many I have. I have the puppies that the police officer saw. I have the little 2-pound one that you said that you signed on for, and the other mutt, because you said you had a pit bull and 2 mutts. That's 9. That's 9 dogs.
Those puppies were not there. I told the animal control that the one up under the shed had just had puppies. I didn't have those puppies there.
The officer said black female pit bull named Shadow, which was under the shed with her 6 puppies.
They were not up under the shed, ma'am.
Where were they?
They had already been gone. They were 3 weeks. I was trying to get rid of Shadow. The puppies were gone.
Just a second. Where were they gone to, you know? Where did you send 3-week-old puppies to?
My son got rid of them because I told him he couldn't have them.
How did he get rid of them and keep the mother?
The mother was up under the shed. He took them.
How did he?
I'm going to tell you.
Just a second. You said you couldn't get Shadow from out under the shed, and your son, who was now out of town.
3-week-old puppies were in the kennel, and he took them in the kennel, and he took them to another friend's house. I don't know where he took them, but I don't have them.
I don't believe a word you're saying to me.
That's what happened, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't believe a word
on
you're
this
saying
thing right here, these are 2 different documents. She did this on the 9th, and this one is on the 9th
Listen,
also.
all I'm looking is the police officer's report.
Okay, ma'am.
You have a lease that provides no pets, but she agreed with you to have a small pet, a handheld terrier, and she took a pet deposit for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you brought in a pit bull, then you brought in another one, then you brought in another one, then one of them had puppies, and we have 2 more strays, according to you.
No, ma'am. I had the terrier, the pit bull, and Shadow had puppies. That's it.
You told me that you had 1 pit bull, and you had 2 strays. That's how we started.
And that's 3.
That's 3.
And that's the 3 that's on the paper.
No, you told the police officer that those belonged to your son, who was out of town.
Those are the same dogs, ma'am. They've always been my sons. Those are the same dogs that's in my house. It was Nico, China, and Shadow. Shadow is the one who had the puppies. There's only been 3 dogs.
Can I see the pictures, please, of the premises?
I have a video of the premises
I would
also.
love to see it.
Yes, sir.
This is the bathroom that they're saying was messed up. The vanity, I don't understand how. That's the commode that they said was messed up. That's the toilet, bathtub. This is my living room.
You went fast around the blind.
That's me cleaning the refrigerator.
Okay. So, the blind is broken. It was broken in here. How did it get broken?
Probably my 9-year-old. I'm not even gonna, I don't,
Okay.
probably my 9-year-old.
So the blind is broken. I don't know what this is.
That's the parking area where
That's
she
where?
should have been parking.
Oh.
But she parked in the front
That's
yard.
a cleanup problem. That's
Thank
not a
you.
$5,000 problem.
Thank you.
Is this the same blind?
No, ma'am, that's the one in the living room.
No, ma'am. The one in the living room isn't broken. You can see on the video.
Well, these are 2 different blinds.
The one in the living room
One is
not
here
broken.
and one is here. I don't know what this is.
Okay, I don't know what that second one, the one in your left hand, I don't know what that is. But I know the one in your right hand, yes, my 9-year-old probably did that one.
And this? Living room?
Yes, ma'am, that's
Living
the
room.
living room.
Okay. I don't know what this is.
That is cigarette burns on the bathtub. Ledge, windowsill.
On the windowsill?
Yes, ma'am.
Who smokes in your house?
My son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I absolutely believe her that you said you...
Levin says former tenant Dana Turner damaged her rental property, causing over $5,000 in repair costs. Dana is countersuing for the return of her security deposit and invasion of privacy.
Okay. Money owed for property damage. Minimal amount of property damage. 2 blinds and cigarette burn.
Yes, ma'am.
You have the bill for the 2 blinds?
Yes, ma'am, I have itemized.
Just give me the bill for the 2 blinds.
And she did receive an itemized statement.
Just tell me what the bill was for the 2 blinds.
I'll wait for my turn, because this, itemized statement is very inflated.
All I just want to know is what she told you the two blinds were.
The 2 window blinds she have on here for $8 from Walmart.
$8.
2 window blinds.
So you think that that's inflated?
No, I'm talking about the whole list.
I'm not talking about the whole list.
Oh, no.
I'm just asking about two things.
$8.
$8. So that's $16. And what about this? You have to repaint this?
No, ma'am, I haven't done anything with that yet. I charged her $10 a cigarette burn.
$8. So you paint that whole thing, scrape it down and paint it. The $50, that's $66.
Okay.
Okay, great. Not $5,000, $66.
Okay.
Now, let's get to your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
You want your security deposit back.
Yes, ma'am.
You get it all.
Linda Bernadeschi is suing salesman Eric West for the cost of skincare products.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2114, Bernadeschi versus West.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you pronounce your last name for me?
Bernadeschi.
Bernadeschi.
Yes.
Well, I read your complaint. I somehow was taken back to my own experience just walking down any street that has a new cosmetic place. So I sort of believe I understand what your experience was, at least initially, with Mr. West. Mr. West, you're a salesman for what company? And where are they located?
Well, they're all over the United States, but I worked for one in San Francisco.
Where are the products manufactured?
In California, actually.
Where?
Chatsworth, California.
Okay. And they have brick and mortar stores all over the country?
Mm-hmm.
And they have many products, but under that one name?
Yeah, they have many products.
Many products, but they're all...
Yes. They have multiple products and multiple locations all through California, and it looks like a bit of Arizona as well.
How many?
Upwards of 20 locations.
Okay. And can you tell me, Sarah, is it a corporation?
I'd assume so. Their about page.
How long have you worked for the company, sir?
That company in that location, about 3 years.
Where is the corporate headquarters for the company?
It's located in San Mateo.
Do you know if the company was incorporated in the state of California?
Yes, I believe it was.
Under that name?
Mm-hmm.
It's not an answer.
Oh, yes, sorry, my apologies.
It looks like it was an LLC out of Oregon, but is listed as inactive as of 12/22 of 2020.
There's no company in California?
It just says the jurisdiction in which the LLC was created is Oregon. That's as far as I could tell. They have a company address that's listed in a head office in Portland, Oregon.
What do you know about Portland, Oregon?
It's a lot of hippies.
A lot of hippies. What about your company?
Oh.
Do you know anything about your company?
Yes, I think it's probably another location there as well.
Do you know anything about the company that you work for? Was it incorporated in the state of Oregon?
No, it was incorporated in California. And I think Oregon maybe has a franchise.
I can't tell from public record anything
from
further.
The state of California.
I tried looking up their headquarter information, and all I got was this Cosmetics LLC from Oregon.
Okay. And while I'm taking this information, I want you to take a look and see if there are any court cases. Sure. Let's try the state of California and the state of Oregon.
Sure.
And the only thing that you could find was the Oregon company under that name that is no longer active.
It might not be the same company, but it has the same name listed in Oregon, so I would assume so, but there's no information on their website about their headquarter information.
Anyway, Ms. Bernadeschi, trying to think of the date that you made these purchases. What date was it?
It was February the 21st, 2022.
And you were shopping, you were walking with your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Had a little dog?
Yes.
What kind of dog?
A Shih Tzu.
A Shih Tzu?
Yeah.
My fave.
Oh, yeah, mine too. She's my third one.
You were walking in a mall. What mall and where?
In Santa Clara, California.
That's where you were working?
Mm-hmm.
How long had you been working there?
3 years.
Okay, this is what the case is about as far as I can tell. You were walking. Was it this gentleman who was standing outside?
No, it was
somebody else.
It was somebody else with a basket.
Somebody else. One of the other people who works at your business?
I was the one who offered her a sample.
Outside?
No, in the front of the store.
Well, but it's in the front of the store.
I didn't step outside of the store. I was in the front of our store, not outside of it, but inside the store, and I handed her a sample.
Just a second. Sort of inconsistent with my life's experience of these things, but let's see. Had you gone to his store?
No.
You're walking through the mall. Is it an indoor mall or an outdoor mall?
Indoor.
And when you passed that store, tell me what happened.
I was en route to a specific store. A man with a basket was standing in front of the store.
So there was a man outside with a basket?
It was a basket holding
Where
a basket.
outside?
Right outside of the store.
And it wasn't this gentleman?
No, it was not.
Tell me what the person looked like who gave you the sample.
I believe he was Caucasian. He was shorter than Eric. I believe he was partially bald, and I believe he wore glasses, but I can't be sure. I would know him if I saw him.
Okay. And so continue with your story. Standing there with a basket of samples outside the store.
Okay.
Totally consistent with my own personal experience.
Okay, so he offered me a sample of a product. And I said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And he said, no, please. He said, you'll like it. And I said, I'm in a hurry, and I'm not interested in any of your products. At that point, Eric walked a couple of steps out from the store and started showering my dog and myself with compliments, just like over the top. And he said, why don't you come in my store? I've got a surprise for you. You are going to love me, he said. I said...
So he was doing his salesman shtick.
Yeah,
and from the smile on his face, it's exactly what he was doing, his salesman shtick.
Yeah, and pretty much
you were on commission.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so now he's showering both you and your little Shih Tzu with compliments and how beautiful the Shih Tzu is and how he's going to give you things that are going to take away this line and that line and this crease or whatever.
And I sound like such a sweet and kind person that, he's got a surprise for me.
I got it. Okay. Go ahead. So he got you into the store.
Uh-huh. At that point, he asked me to have a seat. And again, I said, really, I'm not interested. I want to go. So then someone took my dog.
Where was the dog?
On a leash in my hand. And he says, here, I'll take your dog. And I said, no, I'll hold her. And he says, no, I'm going to take care of her. And I'm going, wait a minute. And next thing I knew, Eric was practically on top of me. This chair was located in a position, well, his chair was much higher than mine.
So you were sitting in a chair like mine?
Yeah, well, a chair, just like a...
A makeup chair?
Yes.
Or a hairdresser's chair?
Kind of like a makeup chair.
And he was sitting on a chair or a stool?
A stool.
Stool. Is that right, Eric? I'm talking to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's a yes. Okay. And your stool was higher than her chair?
That is incorrect. We both were sitting on stools.
The same stool?
The same stool.
Was yours higher?
No, it was the same size.
Okay, go ahead.
So at that point, he just started applying different products to I believe he started with my hand. And then, let me try some of this on your face. And I'm looking around for my dog, like, what's going on here? And because he was very aggressive and pushy. And
just tell me what he did without trying to editorialize.
Okay, so basically he
put on all this goop on your face, on your hands. Somebody else in the store was holding your dog while he was putting this on you. He didn't force you into the chair. He aggressively coaxed you into the chair, is what you're telling me, by complimenting you. I mean, he didn't physically drag you into the store. You walked in by yourself.
Right.
Okay. He was using his best aggressive salesman routine. Not easy to get somebody in the store, right, Eric? I mean, it was never easy to get me in one of those stores, and I shop with her all the time. And she's got more lotions and potions and stuff on her counter than any other human being I know. And I've never seen anybody successful in giving her a free sample and getting her into the store. So you must be very good, because we have a few of those stores right in the neighborhood. You must be really talented.
He is.
Just a second. So before we finish with her, and since you originally started, Mr. West, with, no, it was me outside. It wasn't you outside initially. It was somebody else. You came out afterwards. Well, actually, I believe her. So I want you to understand that her description of the person who initially approached her was so specific. And then the fact that you came out and joined that person, because then you became a tag team, is totally convincing to me. I want you to understand that.
I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped. And I was literally traumatized at that point.
When were you held against your will and kidnapped?
Linda Bernadeschi claims salesman Eric West owes her a refund for skincare products she never wanted.
Do you have family, Eric?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Living family?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You don't want to make a fool out of yourself here, right?
Absolutely not.
Great. So I want you to understand that I believe the plaintiff when she tells me you weren't the initial person out there who stopped her with a free sample.
I was the only one working that day, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because you couldn't have got her where you got her to, which is the story she's going to finish, because by the time she got out of the store, she had $8,000 worth of your product.
Which is also not accredited by the Better Business Bureau and has multiple complaints out against them. So, just for the record.
No, that's an important record. Keep looking.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, I decided I'm going to leave and take my dog and get out of here. And I attempted to get up, and he was sitting higher up than I was in such close proximity that I was unable to fully stand up. And as he saw me attempting to, he comes back over with another product. He was across the store, and
well, if he was across the store, Miss Bernadacci, if he was across the store, then he wasn't hovering over you. So what I tried to tell you before is I want you to tell me not what you think is best for your case. If either he's standing over you so you couldn't get up, or he's across the room. If he's across the room because he went to get another product, you could have gotten up and left.
No, actually, he wasn't across the room. He was just like, I think it was at the desk behind.
Whatever, he wasn't right on top of you.
No.
You don't understand. I don't believe that you were held against your will in the store. I don't believe that they did that. I think he was overly aggressive and he chose a target.
Yeah, and I was...
Okay, and at what point did you purchase all of this product, which is the subject of this case, because you want your money back?
I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped. And I was literally traumatized at that point.
When were you held against your will and kidnapped?
Oh, this was like 15 years ago, maybe?
Well, I would remember that, whether it was 15 years ago. I want you to tell me about that. That forms part of who you are and who the person is that I have to consider with regard to whether or not this was a forced sale or just an overly aggressive salesman. So I want you to tell me, was there a police report of a prior kidnapping? There was?
Yes.
And did they actually find the people who kidnapped you?
Yes.
Was there a trial with regard to those people?
I don't believe so, because the guy was on parole, and so he didn't want to go to trial.
So they violated his parole and he went back to prison?
Yes.
And that was in California?
Yes. But
so when you were in the store and you said you felt as if you couldn't leave, you were under pressure, how many people were in the store?
Well, there was Eric and the gentleman that was standing outside of the store, and then a woman came from behind the register in the back room, and he was telling me how this woman is a world-renowned facial beauty massage, whatever, expert, running drag on me, pretty much. Let's just put it that way. Anyway,
now you're up from your chair. I want to know how the sale came about.
Well, because I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
Okay, so I said, look, I don't even have any money to cover this. And I'm looking...
To cover what?
He asked me for my identification. To cover the cost of these beauty products he wanted to sell me.
Okay, how many were there?
There was 4 or 5 different...
creams.
Creams, and then there was a device that, I don't know what you call them, but it was a device that he had used on me while I was sitting in the chair. And, you know, telling me, look in the mirror, doesn't this, you know, can't you tell a big difference? And he even took my phone and took a couple of pictures of me. He says, look at, I said, I can tell a little bit of a difference, but it's not worth the money. And again, I don't even have the money, so I really need to go. So he asked for my driver's license to register the product. And then he told me
to register the product.
The product that I bought.
Oh, so you did say you would buy the device.
Yeah,
You did say you would buy the device. And how much was the device?
It was just shy of $8,000. I've got the receipts right
I'd like to see it. Do you have it with you?
Oh, the device?
Yeah.
No, I wish I would have brought it with me, but it hasn't been opened. I still have it. I haven't touched it. You wanted to see the receipts?
Yes.
Okay. They're right here.
By the way, what time of day did you go to the store?
This was approximately 6:30 because it was near closing time. Oh, here's the rest of them. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going specifically for one lipstick. That was all I was at the mall for, and it was almost closing.
Sarah Rose, take a look under that name.
I didn't find a device on their website. I already looked, if that's what you're going to.
You looked at this 3D ultrasound and face body?
I've just found 6 products that are creams for face and body on the website.
I'd like to see what this 3D ultrasound is, this $8,000 piece of equipment that you sold her. You have a picture of it? Okay. Could you get that for me? He's going to give it to Sarah. Sarah's going to look up this nonsense.
Thank you.
Some more receipts.
So what I see that you did was spread some of this around different credit cards.
Yes.
And you want to tell me, how did that happen?
Well, I said, these aren't even my credit cards. I'm on the roommate's. And he says, well, you could put half on your roommate's credit card. And I says, no, I am not going to do that. And he says, yeah, make him pay for it. And I'm looking at this guy like, what's going on?
What are you doing with your roommate's credit cards?
Because he's an older gentleman. I've got the power of attorney, and I shop for him. He's not able to do all that.
Is he a roommate, or are you a caregiver?
He's a roommate. We've lived together for 30 years. Anyway, just a very
He hasn't been old and sick for 30 years.
Well, he's kind of...
He may be old and sick now, but he wasn't old and sick for 30 years.
Oh, well, no. I mean...
Do you live together as a couple for 30 years? Do you live together as an almost couple?
No, he's like my father almost. We each have our separate rooms, and I pretty much take care of his house and cook for him. And he doesn't go many places. He's pretty much a recluse. He doesn't like to go to the store. And so I do all the grocery shopping and everything.
Okay. Who hired you?
It wasn't hired. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting. Who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
Linda Bernadeschi is accusing salesman Eric West of holding her against her will and selling her an unwanted skincare wand.
Do we have a picture of that thing? Juven. It's.
Yeah, I have it.
What?
I have it. It looks like this. It's got this on one side, and then I don't know what this is trying to show you.
Ultrasound, face and body, slimming.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like she needs slimming.
She asked for something that would tighten her skin, as she said that in her younger years she had a lot of issues with drug abuse when we had our conversations, and she's asking for something that can actually help her look more youthful and help her skin tighten. And this is something that she discussed with me when we were sitting at the table.
What's your educational experience?
High school, college.
Where?
I went to like a couple of film and television schools.
I asked you what college you went to.
Oh, Olympic College in Washington State.
And was that a 4-year program?
2-year.
2-year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a brick and mortar college or is that an online college?
Brick and mortar.
And what did you study there?
Just the basics.
What basics?
Gen Eds, you know, your associates, your Gen Eds. And it had nothing to do with my sales and skincare, but my sales and skincare, I actually deal with every client fairly, and I pride myself in
Don't tell me
integrity.
that you deal with every client fairly. She wanted her money back the next day.
She didn't want her money back the next day. She didn't even come back the next day.
When did she come back?
It was like a week or 2 later. She came back to the store and wanted a refund, and I said, well,
No, just a second. Okay. She came into the store on February 21st, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
You get home with all these products. You spread it around. Let's say this is aggressive salesmanship. Now you're home. You had a previous experience with being taken against your will and held against your will, according to what you told me.
Yes.
So you know that when that happens, the police get involved. You didn't go to the police when you left to say, you know, I was held against my will. You took the products and you took the products home, right?
Well, I didn't go directly home. I went to my friend's house. She lives 2 blocks from there. I was so traumatized I couldn't drive, and I was beside myself.
Okay, that was February 21st.
Yes.
So what did you do next with regard to Mr. West?
Okay, so by that time it was about 9 o'clock at night, 10 when I got home, and I thought, well, I'll call tomorrow to tell him I want a refund. Actually, I called him and told him that, and he says, well, you're supposed to be down here.
When did you call him and tell him you wanted a refund?
It was the next day when he called me. He called me the next day and says, where are you? And I says, I'm at home. And he says, well, how come you're not here for your free 12 facials that I offered you? And I says, I don't want anything from you. And I didn't ask for anything from him.
So he called you to come in for a free facial?
Yes.
And
I says, I don't plan on coming in for any of the facials, much less 12 of them. What I'd like to come in for is a refund on these products that I don't need. And I felt pressured into buying yesterday. And I can't, I don't want them.
You say that didn't happen for a week?
Your Honor, she had a contract with us for 6 months worth of treatments, hydrofacials, that we included in her purchase that she signed. And
I'd like to see what she signed.
It's actually on my phone. I didn't print out a copy. I apologize. Why not? Because I was rushing this morning and I was...
Well, you were rushing this morning. You knew you were coming to court for days. What do you mean you didn't print out a contract? Do you have a copy of a contract that you signed?
Yes, I do.
Fine. I'll take a look at your copy.
I also have a police report. Do you want to see the
I'd like to see a police report, and I'd like to see a copy of the contract you signed.
Okay, and here's some fictitious businesses that he's got as well. Okay,
I
the contract.
can't hear you. Just hand me the stuff. Okay, this is the police report. I want to see the contract. I'll read the police report while you're looking for it.
Here's the contract.
Skincare, is that your company?
Is that the product you're referring to?
Yes.
Those are the medical devices that we actually retail in the store, and we demonstrate them on the clients. And then typically clients, when they see a difference, they're like, oh, wow.
Listen, you're not selling me, sir.
Oh,
stop
I understand.
This is not a sales pitch to me. What's your commission when you sell an $8,000 light to make your skin nice? What's your commission?
20%.
So yours personally is 20%. How much do they buy them for?
I'm not sure.
What do you think? What do you think? Take a good guess. You've been working for them for 3 years.
I don't know. And I think that you'd have to factor in like the rent for the establishment and all of those things. So I don't really know what the profit margin would be.
Your Honor, on their website, they state that each individually owned brick and mortar store is not affiliated with them, that they run their own stores. It's sort of a franchise-esque situation.
Who owns your store, or is it a franchise?
It's a franchise?
It's not a question. It sounds like you were asking me a question. Is it a company-owned store, or is it a franchise?
There's a company that owns the store.
But it's a franchise.
Yes, I believe so. I'm not familiar with the legalities of the location and all the business agreements and
contracts. Who hired you?
It wasn't hire. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting. Okay, yes. So it wasn't a hire. You're in business with a man whose name is what? Don't think about it. If you're in business with somebody, you're a smart boy.
I don't know how to pronounce his
You went to a
last name.
2-year college. What's the name of your business partner?
I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
What?
I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Spell it.
So I don't actually know how to spell it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
And who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
To be continued. Carrie Cargill is suing Joseph Simonet for car damage. after Joseph's 15-year-old son hit Carrie's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 2138, Cargill versus Simonet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cargill, you and the defendant's son had an accident while you were driving your car, and Mr. Simonet's son was driving his electric scooter.
It was like a skateboard, a one-wheel skateboard.
Tell me your name.
Jacob Simonet.
Describe this vehicle that you were riding on.
It's got 2 spaces for your feet. Has one in the back, one in the front.
No, try to look at me. I'm trying to see you.
Oh.
Trying
There's
to
one in the
go
back,
like this.
one in the front, and then there's a big wheel in the center. And you put your feet on either side, and then it balances, and you ride it kind of like a skateboard.
Oh, I actually
had a
have
feeling you
picture
might
of
need it.
myself riding on one of those for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We bought it for one of my grandchildren years ago, but it's motorized.
Yes.
It has a motor.
It's electric.
And how fast does it go?
Tops out at about 17 miles an hour.
17.
Yes.
That's pretty fast. Are you required to drive that on the street where pedestrians walk or where cars ride?
On the sidewalk with pedestrians.
Sidewalk.
Yes.
Do you drive it on the sidewalk?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever drive it in the street?
I do not.
Now you're going to tell me what happened on the date of this incident, which was August 17th.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going south after work, and I was going to crossing through the intersection. I had the green light.
Is there a chart?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I was crossing the intersection.
You're the blue car.
I'm the blue car. And I had the green, it was going, and Jacob had cut through on the red into the green and slammed into the side of my car. He had cut through the intersection.
So he was in the street where the cars travel?
Yes.
Not on the sidewalk?
Right. He was not in the walkway.
Okay. Jacob, I want you to walk up to that sign and show me where you were when you and the plaintiff collided.
I was about right here.
You were in a crosswalk?
Yeah, I was in the crosswalk coming through and about
Okay,
right.
is that what, Jacob, is that what the police report is going to indicate? That you were in the crosswalk?
I don't know.
Well, I assume that there is a police report. Is that correct? Police report's going to tell me where the debris was, I assume. The debris is either going to be in a crosswalk or it's going to be in the street. Where do you think it's going to be?
Some of it was in the street.
Show me the street that you're talking about.
About like right
No,
here.
put your finger on it. Don't go around where it's
About right here.
right there. That would be in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be in the middle of the street where the cars travel, not in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy.
Sure.
How old is he?
15.
15. I've had a whole bunch of those who are 15. You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
He's a pretty good kid.
All of my kids are pretty good kids. But you can always
Figure
tell.
it out, huh?
Yeah, you can usually tell. Is this your first only?
Both. First and only.
First and only. Oh, well, she probably had some experience with that anyway.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, and this happened at what time during the day?
I believe it was about 4, a little after 4:30.
So it was light out.
Yes.
You collided with her car on the driver's side.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, on the door of the driver's side.
The fender.
Fender.
Yes.
Side fender?
Yes, side fender.
Okay. Not the front of the car.
The front fender of the car.
Front fender of the car on the side. I'm talking about it was the side or the front?
The side.
Side. So you collided with her.
Yes.
Because cars don't move sideways.
Yes.
He could have been quite seriously injured.
Yes, he could. He hit the side of the car and he flew up onto the hood and then kind of rolled across the hood, hit my windshield, and then fell onto the ground. And when I stopped, he jumped up, appeared at my window, and apologized, and then asked me if I was okay.
What did he say?
Just said he was sorry. And then he asked me if I was okay. And then I asked him if he was okay. And then he asked me if I was okay. And it went back.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And which I was very impressed by, that he was more worried about me than anything else. I moved my car out of the road, onto the side of the road. There was an EMT that was across the street from us, and he came over and assessed him if there was any more damage. He got some road rash and things like that, but he was not seriously hurt, at least that we noticed at the time.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One witness said that he was right next to you and that you went past him and that the light was red. His light was red, which is why he was stopped. That's what I'm reading. He did say that his light was red when the kid initially passed in front of him. Did you get a copy of this police report?
I've seen it, yes.
Explain to me, would you put on this again and leave that one on because that's the version that I believe. Would you walk over there and explain to me what cut the corner was, what you were doing? It talks about cutting the corners. So I want you to understand, I believe that, based upon what I'm reading here, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to show me how you cut the corner.
So I was coming to this one, and I went through, and instead of going here and just going through the sidewalk, I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
What's cut the corner?
Cut the corner here, right there.
You mean just that little space is what you're talking about? You cut the corner?
Yeah, I went from about...
I want you to understand, I believe that you were in the street. I believe you were in the street, not in a crosswalk. So let's run through that again. Would you please show me what cut the corner was?
Went through here, I came here, and I cut here. So right there, I cut the corner.
He is a nice boy, Mr. Simonet.
Thank you.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. But it was like a tank. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel.
And later today.
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won.
Before taxes or after?
Both.
Carrie Cargill claims Joseph Simonet owes for damage after his 15-year-old son hit Carrie's car while riding an electric skateboard.
Okay. The police determined that based upon the eyewitness testimony that the pedestrian, Jacob, is at fault and believed to have crossed the intersection before having the right-of-way. The vehicle had the green light. In any event, do you have photographs of your car? This happened in August, and you were called to the scene by your son, is that right?
Correct.
And you got there, you know that he was a little banged up, but thankfully...
He was in an ambulance when I arrived, but shortly after, yes, he did walk out of the ambulance and suffered some injuries, which I have pictures of if you'd like to see them.
I'm sure he was banged up. He had bruises from falling off the...
From being launched from the vehicle after the collision, correct.
Okay. You know, he was really lucky that she wasn't going faster.
Correct. Could have been much worse. We were
thankful
for his health and the outcome of the incident.
You're right. Okay, can I see an estimate to fix your car, please? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of a car do you have?
A 2015 Equinox Chevy.
You had full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes.
But with a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
So if you put this through to your insurance, you have a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
Right? Anything else you want to tell me, Jacob?
No.
Do you still ride one of those things?
It's broken. I didn't get a new one, no.
It was destroyed in the accident.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. He bought me the oldest, ugliest car. But it was like a tank. All my other friends were getting these nice, cute little cars. And this one was like an old person's tank Cadillac or something. You know, we're talking 50 years ago. And I said, why do I have to have this car? Everybody else has cute cars. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel. That's pretty much the lesson that I've sent out there. 4,000 pounds of steel. One and only, surrounded by lots of steel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you, we're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I'm happy.
She had some fault due to hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
It was surreal, like out of the movies.
Your heart stops, and all you can do is look for the car keys and panic and get there as fast as you can.
I am so glad that he was okay.
I remember just flying through the air, and then I was on the ground, and I got right up.
Be very careful.
Count your blessings and enjoy every moment that you have, because things could change in an instant.
I know these electric scooters and skateboards are very popular, but even before this case, I tried to look up any rules, laws, regulations. There are a few for electric motorbikes and things like that, but far fewer than I would expect for a machine that can go up to 17 miles an hour when you're 15.
I think that you're right. I think that since those things have become so popular, they really have to be enforced rules. And parents, and this is a very nice father and son, but I've seen kids weave in and out of cars. It always looked like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. And this one could have ended in a real tragedy.
He was lucky, and his father knew he was lucky.
Michael Attar is suing his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, for unpaid demolition work.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2115, Attar versus Rose.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Attar, you were hired to do some, according to you, demolition work and other work at a property owned by Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes. You gave them an estimate for that work. I think the estimate was $11,500. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it was outlined what work you were supposed to do. You started that work, and according to you, at some point there was disagreement with either or both of the Rhodeses, and they stopped payment on a check that they gave you.
Correct.
And the check that they gave you was for $4,200. And then you stopped work for them.
Yes, ma'am, we're finished.
So you're suing them for the canceled check and for other unpaid work that you did that you didn't get paid for.
Correct.
Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes say that they were not satisfied with the quality of your work. It cost them $9,000 to both replace things that were stolen from their property by either you or members of your team, something which I don't think that you question that somebody from your team, not you, somebody from your team may have taken metal property of theirs that they didn't own. So let's go back. Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes, is this a new property to you, or is this a property that you owned for a while?
It's a new property to us.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So is it a private house?
Yes, and we were remodeling it.
Okay, when did you purchase it?
We purchased in January of 2021.
Is it a single-family residence?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
$769,000.
Describe the property to me.
It's in northern Altaloma or Rancho Cucamonga. It's an acre property, has 2 levels on it, and a single-family ranch-style home on it right now. And what we asked him to do was demolition the lower half.
Do you have a photograph?
I do.
I'd like to look at a photograph of what you wanted him to do.
That's what the lower half looked like before.
So this whole portion you wanted him
correct
to demolish and remove the debris.
And grade flat.
Is that correct, sir?
I can't see from here, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm going to show it to you. To demolish it, flatten it, fill it in.
Remove all the debris.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a written contract?
We did not.
Well, that's always a mistake.
Always.
How did you find him?
I believe I got his business card. It was on my personal car, I think at Home Depot. We had bought this house, and we tried to find somebody to do the work, but...
Mr. Rhodes, let me tell you that the best way to find somebody is not somebody who leaves a card on your car at Home Depot or any place else.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time to find contractors with COVID and everything at that time.
And at the time, I'm also going to add, because I read in the paper somewhere at the time, he didn't have a license.
He did not.
And you knew he didn't have a license.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I told him, Your Honor. I do not
Just a second. They didn't say no, we didn't know. They said we knew. So you got somebody who had no license to do what you wanted him to do, and you got his number from a card that he left on your windshield. Did you ask for references? That's either a yes or a no.
No, and I'm not really sure actually 100% on where I found that card. I think
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he did tell us he was in the process of getting his license. That it was coming.
Yeah. I know.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You're two intelligent people. Okay. So you hired an unlicensed contractor to do work on your house and agreed to pay him $11,500. Now, Mr. Attar, the $11,000 included labor and materials. Is that correct?
There was no material. It was labor and bins.
Well, that's material, labor and bins to remove all the equipment that you needed
Yes, ma'am.
to complete the job.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Of before, too. what I was supposed to do, and I took a picture.
Well, no, I have that.
You have the wrong picture of me, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see the picture that he has.
I was supposed to do from the post all the way to the other post, remove everything, and the pool and the deck.
Mr. Attar, the $11,500 was an all-inclusive figure.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that became an issue is a bobcat.
Correct.
From what I'm piecing together, you hired somebody in a bobcat to do a bobcat. That's a big piece of equipment that knocks down something.
I rented a bobcat.
And somebody who operated it.
My worker.
You didn't know how to operate the bobcat.
I know how to operate bobcat, but I was controlling the demolition site, ma'am. I was like many things were going at the same time. I had to control everything.
Mr. Attar, something happened with the bobcat, the original one that you got. What happened with it?
It broke down on us.
No, it didn't break down on them. It broke down on you.
On us.
It broke down on you.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I took it back, and next day supposed to deliver me another one, but they sent me a drunk driver and another broken down bobcat. I returned it. At that moment, I asked Mrs. Rhodes, can you please go down Home Depot, which is like a mile away, so we don't stop wasting time, rent a bobcat or not.
Just a second. Why should she rent a bobcat, sir? Your $11,500 included the bobcat.
But I was paid for it.
No. If you're going to pay for it, that's one thing. Then what are you sending her for? If your $11,500 figure included all materials, then she doesn't have to rent a bobcat. If you rented one that didn't work, rent one that works. How much of a down payment did they give you?
Presume was $4,000.
When did you start the job?
I started the job on 15th of January.
When did you leave the job?
I was asked to leave on the 2nd of February.
On February 2nd?
Yes, ma'am. Not to go back, I'll call the cops on you.
Between January 15th and February 2nd, other than the $4,000, did they give you any other money?
Yes, Your Honor, they did.
How much money did they give you?
They gave me up to $7,000.
So they gave you an additional $3,000?
Yes, and $1,000 check.
Your Honor, that was within the first week we gave him.
It doesn't matter to me. My question was between January 15th and February 2nd, they gave you $7,000.
Correct.
Explain the other $4,200, which is the check that they stopped payment on.
Okay. I'll happily explain to you. The bobcat she rented for me on her behalf, it cost $329 to rent per day. And I rented for one day only, but they charged me $800.
No, that's not correct.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you.
Michael Attar claims his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, owe for unpaid demolition work. Mary and Michael are countersuing for lost wages, equipment rental, and missing property.
Now, they paid you $7,000.
Correct.
They wrote you another check.
The final check was supposed to be $5,000, but they only gave me $4,200 because they mined $800 for the bobcat rental.
Just a second. First of all, the total bill wasn't $7,000 and $5,000. $7,000 and $5,000, even my rudimentary math, is $12,000. That would be $500 more than your agreed contract, which was for $11,500.
They gave me $6,500 because they gave me small checks. They gave me the first initial
Just
check,
a second.
They gave me smaller ones.
Sir, you're the businessman, whether you have a license or not. I asked you before how much money did they give you between January 15th and February 2nd, and you said $7,000.
I didn't write it down, Your Honor.
Well, you're here asking for money, and you have to write it down.
You have to have some work I've performed already. And
No, sir.
And I just did the job, Your Honor. I did 7, 8 other side jobs for them.
I don't care whether you did 7 or 8 side jobs. Your original agreement with them was for $11,500, including all material. Now, what you said to me was that they gave you $7,000, and you said they're supposed to give me another $5,000. Well, another $5,000 is more than your quote.
Ma'am, the balance was $5,000.
How?
The initial check, then they gave me $1,000.
How much money did you give them all together that he cashed?
$7,000.
Then they owed you $4,500. pursuant to your agreement?
We agreed to $11,000, not $11,500.
$11,500, Your Honor.
Anybody have any proof of what the agreed amount was?
We had a verbal contract with me, Mr. Rhodes.
Fine. I will indicate that it's $11,500. If they gave you $7,000, they don't owe you $5,000. They owed you the difference between $11,500 and the $7,000 that they gave you. Now, one of the things that you disputed, Mr. Attar, was this Bobcat. Who paid for the Bobcat? Show me.
They minus it from the final price.
Just a second. Was that an argument?
The argument about is, Your Honor, is they rented for 1 day, but they charged me 2 days, $800. There's no Bobcat rental for $800 for 2 days. I got.
Do you have the bill for the Bobcat?
I do, yes. And it was for 2 days.
Go over a certain time.
Because it was returned late. So they charged a second day. But in his text messages, he did request it for 2 days.
Is that the total price?
Yes, and I did not subtract it from his payment.
Total contract was $652.74?
Yes.
Do you have a photograph of what the property looked like when you left?
Yes, ma'am. The last picture I took before I was kicked out of the property.
You're talking, I'm not listening to you. Just show me a picture.
Yes, ma'am. This is not a picture.
Mr. Attar, you're the businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your company.
Yes, ma'am.
Company requires, A, a license before you operate, which you didn't have.
If you do.
B, it requires a written contract. You're the businessman. They're people who bought a house who got your number off a windshield someplace. You're the businessman, and you want the parameters. You want them fixed. So I don't know if it's $11,000 or $11,500. Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Right. Well, that's your mistake. You look as if you've probably been in business for a long time.
14 years.
And is what you're telling me you don't have written contracts?
All my contracts are verbal.
Then how many times have you been in court, sir?
Never.
Never.
I've never had a stop payment check. Never pays me on time, Your Honor.
It's a problem. So when you finished, the debris wasn't all removed.
That wood, they kept telling me, don't touch it. Their neighbor, cousin, whoever's going to come pick it up. That was just cut cord wood.
No. There's brick. There's wood, there's cement.
We cleaned all that. I personally cleaned all that.
Just a second. What I asked you, Mr. Attar, was show me a picture of the property when you left. This is the picture that you showed me.
It was the last, before I had more work, I came in and did more. I wasn't taking pictures. I wasn't expecting somebody to stop payment on a check, Your Honor. I was not expecting that.
Pictures of what it looked like when he left.
What about after?
Well, what are you showing me here? This brick that's here?
They piled it there and then left it there.
Well, that's probably a good one.
No, it was supposed to be removed.
So this is the back.
That's the picture of the sagging patio because he removed part of the supports that were holding up the patio that he wasn't supposed to. So it's now sagging.
Now, this is the picture that you gave me when you told me this is what you wanted, leveled, cleared, and made flat.
Right.
Now, I want to see your picture of what this looked like when he left.
You have it. It's in some of those photos.
Flat's leveled.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
That's part of it. The close-ups, that's part of it.
Well, it looks like most of the stuff is done. It looked like a lot of cleanup left.
No, ma'am. We've done all the cleanup.
Well, I haven't seen that, so then what you're supposed to do is take a photograph.
It was also buried underneath. These are the photos of when we did it ourselves and really leveled it out. And as we were doing that, we found so much buried underneath that should have been removed, but his Bobcat person buried it all.
Your Honor.
Buried
all the debris, all the concrete brick.
Okay, let me see the bill from the...
No, we did it ourselves. We rented equipment and did it ourselves on his vacation.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, $4,500 is so far what's owed on this contract. Now, your counterclaim is money owed for lost work, equipment rentals, labor and missing damages to property. What money owed for lost work?
During the second week that he was working, he called and said that his crew had left. This was the second day of supposed to be use of the Bobcat that I rented.
Okay, if you interrupt me again, I'm just dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So just explain lost work. Who's lost work? Oh, forget it.
Well, he called and said his crew left.
Forget it.
He can't finish the job.
You weren't living there.
Not yet, no.
You weren't living there. Okay, he wants to go. I'm not interested in his lost wages for taking care of his house. So far, you owe the man the balance on his contract unless you had somebody else do it, which is absolutely fine. And I would look at that removal of debris, what it costs you, and you're absolutely entitled to that. Deducted from what you owe him, which is $4,500.
But he didn't finish the job.
Just a second. You tell me, how am I supposed to gauge how much of the job he didn't finish? Did he not complete $2,500 worth, $3,500 worth, $1,500 worth?
I think the $7,000 we paid him was overpaid. He didn't have to end up removing an entire pool. He only had to remove...
That's your problem. Just a second. I read that. You said it's not a big pool. It wasn't 8 feet. It was only 24 inches. He gave you a price to level everything. Nothing delineated, nothing in a written contract. The pool turns out to be 2 feet instead of 6 feet or 2 feet instead of 8 feet. Well, if he was the contractor and he came out and he looked at the pool, he said, oh, this is an 8-foot pool, and it turned out it's a 12-foot pool, he'd be stuck with 11.5, just like you're stuck with 11.5 because it was shallower. Now, you owe him $4,500 unless you want to produce for me bills that you have for rental equipment, et cetera, and I will absolutely deduct that from the $4,500. Just give me the bills and the amount of equipment. Don't say nothing, Mr. Retard. Mr. Rhodes, did you rent a Bobcat?
The one that I cleaned up the yard with?
Yes.
I rented a piece of equipment.
Jump up!
Yes.
And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir. I'm a television personality. I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Michael Attar has accused his former clients, Mary and Michael Rhodes, of refusing to pay for demolition work. Mary and Michael claim he never finished the job and stole their property.
Now, what did you rent?
A skip loader.
That's different from a Bobcat.
Yes, that's correct.
Smaller?
I would say bigger.
Bigger. And do you remember how much it cost you? Did you rent it from Home Depot?
No. It's from a local rental yard. I think it was
all the equipment we rented
in Ontario.
$1,300.
Yeah.
Find it.
Yeah.
Find the bill.
They didn't print it, so now I gotta.
How many days did you have it, Mr. Rhodes?
4.
I'm dismissing your counterclaim, Mrs. Rhodes. Do you want to know why? Because I asked him a specific question, and you answered. Do you understand? Do you understand? That part of your counterclaim, because you don't have it, you can't find it. So far you owe him $4,500. Not $8,600, but $4,500. Now, do you have any proof that Mr. Attar or someone from his team stole copper piping or whatever piping that you claim was missing? Do you have any proof that either Mr. Attar or anyone under his authority took property from you?
Yes. We have text messages back and forth.
Okay, I'll read them. Okay, so what you're referring to with regard to the stolen property is you send a picture and there's a little piece of pipe there, one piece of pipe, and you say, Mike, did you or your guys happen to grind off 2 metal poles and concrete blocks? The kids use those for volleyball nets. And he says, oh my God, no, sir, but I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to, no problem, Michael, please give, and I don't see the rest of this message.
Yes, so that was the beginning of things we noticed that were missing.
Oh, I don't care. If this is what you're talking about?
Yes, he's saying he let a metal person onto our yard, and they went and took everything that was metal.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Attar.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me about the missing metal on this property.
She was standing right there, and there was a metal guy that drives down the street. And you know how they pick up metal?
No, I don't know that, sir. I'm a television personality. I don't know about people driving down the street to pick up metal. I've never had somebody drive down the street and say, I'm looking for metal. They don't even come down my street and ask if I want sharp knives.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Very much, Your Honor.
Okay. Who is this person?
This person was picking up metal, and I asked for permission. I said, ma'am, could you come down the property?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Was this person picking up metal for nothing?
Yes.
Just a second. Yeah, you're a business guy. Mr. Rattar, somebody drives down the street and says, you know, I see you doing construction. Is there any metal around here that you want me to dispose of?
Yes, ma'am, they do a lot.
Yes, and then they look around. This is what you tell them. They look around and they take the metal for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. This would be cheaper for me instead of load it on my trailer and take it to the recycling metal yard.
So what metal did they take, sir? I assume
Everything
what?
that I gave them.
What
was
did you
right
give
there.
them?
Nobody went up there and cut no poles, ma'am.
Well, they sent you a picture of a pole, sir, and in response to the picture of the pole, you said, oh, my God, I'm guessing the person whom I gave my metal to.
I'm guessing.
No problem. And then you say later, tell me what it is, and I will either look high and low to get it back or replace it. That's what you say.
Yes, I offered to replace it.
That's what you say.
I offered to replace it.
Now, next question. I need an itemized list and what the value was of the metal taken.
No, there's a list of everything. They're listed in there.
What is this?
Those are all the damages, but the metal is listed in there separately of the items that are missing.
No, it isn't. This is a whole bunch of other things that you prepared for this case.
It's in there underneath. There's the horse feeder. Part of the corral was cut off.
This is something that you wrote yourself.
Yes, you said an itemized list.
If they took 6 feet of pipe, get me a bill from Home Depot for the replacement of that pipe.
Oh, I have
all the bills for the replacement of metal, not what you prepared for this litigation.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Itemized list.
Did you take down a horse corral?
No, Your Honor, I did not take no horse corral. I have nothing
Horse
to
corral,
do.
is that metal or is it?
It's made out of galvanized metal, yeah. They cut pieces off of that were sticking up to take to recycle, I guess.
Just a second. Was there a 4-sided horse corral?
Yes.
That looked like this?
Yes.
That they took down?
They cut pieces that were sticking up above the horse corral, attached to the horse corral.
You're being petty. You're being petty. $306, Ram's price, galvanized wall-mounted horse feeder. Did you take a horse feeder?
No, Your Honor, I got no...
Yo, Mr. Rattar, $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. The counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Well, his equipment broke, and he wanted us to rent the equipment for him.
Equipment died because things break down.
And then the next day, he calls and says he can't finish it.
At that moment, I didn't have a credit card to my name. And that's the honest truth.
So we pretty much figured that was job abandonment at that point.
I'm going to have a written contract in the future. Don't hire
Always
him.
hire a professional.
I could not believe that your first question to him when he said that he'd been working as a contractor for 14 years was, and you've been working all 14 of those years unlicensed?
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for the question. I was waiting at the edge of my seat, and it never came.
Different minds. Yeah. Should have slipped me a note.
I should have.
You should have slipped me a note. No, that actually didn't cross my mind, but that's a good question.
Yeah, oral contracts and no license.
No license, but there's no question. He did the work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He did the work, and they were really dickering over who was going to absorb the cost of this second Bobcat that they had to get, which was really ridiculous. If they had had another contractor who came and completed the job,
you would have awarded that.
I would have deducted it from the $4,500 that they owed him. But absent that, the fact that he rented some sort of piece of equipment and came and cleaned up the property was not important to me, and the rest of their case was nonsense. Next time, they won't employ somebody for $11,000 from a card from your windshield.
At Home Depot.
From
Anywhere.
wherever, and not say, okay, listen, maybe I give him a shot. Give me 3 of your last references to call.
It's a good lesson to people out there,
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
अरे बोला ता चूड़ी कंगना राजा जानिया हो, अरे टूटा ता रोज 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 पिया बदानिया हो अब हाथ के मेहंदी हमरो छूटत बाटे लाले लाले गलिया ओठ लालिया पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे रोआता से जिपे ओढ़ना बिछावना हो अरे धाके कमरिया खेला खिलावना हो धाके कमरिया खेला खिलावना अरे रोआता से जिपे ओढ़ना बिछावना हो अरे धाके कमरिया खेला खिलावना और 36-60 के तकिया बितात बाटे लाले लाले गलिया ओठ लालिया पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे बेकार काइल सोरहो सिंगार हो हर तड़पेला जवानी अनुराग हो तड़पेला जवानी अनुराग हो होता बेकार काइल सोरहो सिंगार हो हर तड़पेला जवानी अनुराग हो और बीपिन तोहरे प्यार से मनवा कुंगत बाटे लाले लाले गलिया ओठ लालिया पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे